JD had a very decisive Game 1 victory over Vici. Clement and I didn't really expect anything else to take place today. Vici would have to pull off a miracle to try and upset one of the kings in the LPL right now, because JD are having such a strong summer split.
Yeah, it's just absolutely domination from every single part of JD. They're winning their lanes, they're winning the early skirmishing, and I see that my play-by-play caster is being very distracted by the big dog on stage currently.
We've got Joy and Rendong on stage. They're giving out 6,000 RMB vouchers to 5 different people.
That's the monthly minimum salary in Shanghai.
That is yeah. 5 vouchers being given out to 5 different people here at the Shanghai Arena for attending the JD Fan Appreciation Day.
I'm a JD fan. Get me down there. I was waving my hands up at Rendong.
Yeah, Rendong, during the break, Rendong called out, I believe it was seat 605 or something. Clement was trying to get his attention to tell him that that's here. This is 605.
Please believe
that's
me.
604. So I should have won that. You mean not you? 605 is right here. It says right here, 605.
I definitely would like 6,000 RMB, but if that doesn't persuade you to be a JD fan, their gameplay should do it in Game 1. You can see how dominant they actually were. I don't think that much needs to change for JD Gaming. I feel like overall Clid has had one of the strongest splits that we have ever seen him. He started strong on Graves' pick, and then he moved to other junglers and was good as well. I want to see him maybe go back to the Lee Sin that made him very famous in spring.
Okay, is this just an experiment or, you know, a flashy play style? Or is this something that you think is actually beneficial for JD? Because they're already playing so well with what is working for them. Well, obviously in their first match against Vici, why did they have to change anything?
So what JD Gaming love to do when they win Game 1 is they like to throw out new picks when they win Game 2. Now that's a big reason of why they have 11 series going 3 games.
But they can't anymore. They have to face RNG and need all the wins.
What I think the mentality should be here is that you should show some picks. You should show some picks and scare people further down the line. Let's say if Yagao can't pick up a Kali for 1 game. That would change a lot of the drafting phases going forward.
True. But also, you know, hiding the picks, waiting till playoffs, and then saying, here are all the things that we have. Deal with it, opponents. There's also one way to go. I believe you and FLICKR frequently have this conversation.
Yeah, we have very different ideas on how you should play it. I believe that you should show a little bit.
Yeah.
And then, even if you don't play it, there's always that shadow in your mind. This is what SKT used to do when they're BO5s. A lot of times they actually lost the Game 1, but were still still able to come back and finish the entire series because they showed their hand.
True.
And people were afraid of that. Like, oh wait, that Game 1 pick was very good. We might need to take it away. And Akali is quickly rising in that area. 44 appearance rate on this patch already.
Was it Caps that picked up the big highlight play against a Rise in mid lane? I'm not too sure. On the ULCS had a very big highlight play coming out from Kali, showing her damage, her mobility, as well as the utility that she now provides. That's going to be a pick that we probably should watch out for playoffs, especially moving towards World Championship in the next month or so.
So Akali is currently sold as a in and out type of assassin. You run out, you get the extra movement speed. You run in, you get the extra range. There's a lot of those mechanics. But why she's so powerful right now is that she doesn't really need the out portion. She can just go in and kill, because her ult alone does 420 base damage, level 6. With the execute. So what we've seen is that she actually has insane snowball potential. The games I've watched personally were JT's Fofo, where he was able to stay in the fights for a very long time, picked up a triple, and nearly secured J-Team their trip to playoffs in the LMS.
Yeah, very close for them. I'm very curious to see how the meta actually changes too, especially since we're so close to not only the playoffs, but also the World Championship, where there have been instances where metas do change heavily and some certain champions come back or fall off of popularity. So, especially with the LPL being such big innovators for this year alone. This year we saw so much of the international meta or international picks coming out of the LPL first, which, you know, it has happened before, but it's one of the first times LPL have led the pack when it comes to the experimentation with different champions, runes, strategies. Even last game, we saw the Grass from the Undying Swain being picked up in the top lane. Zoom was the one that started it, and now it's become a staple pick for top lane Swain.
There's just so many games and so many one-trick players in the LPL that the potential for a unique pick to crop up are very, very high. Just this split alone, we had the Orianna bot lane, we had Jinnu top lane with the Quinn, and we had the Grass of the Undying Swain. Just like you mentioned, Kled mid was the one of those big picks that changed the entire international landscape as well. So moving forward, I actually think there is a very good chance for the LPL, just in the 8.15, just in the final few games, we have to come up with something new. And if there would be a player to do it, I would heavily look towards Yagao. Because Yagao is one of those assassin players that has been a long-time Fizz player. He's already showed that in the split. Only one person to do it so far. And also we're seeing things like Syndra being picked up in the mid lane quite often. The 20-point damage boost to her Q really changes a lot of laning phase dynamics. It's much easier to get kills with her right now.
True. Who do you think the top 2 regions are right now, since we're only about a month and a half away from the World Championship? Do you still think it's LPL and LCK?
Was that ever a question?
I mean, you have to ask, right? If you asked me,
it's the LCK and
if you asked me, I'd say Southeast Asia and the Oceanic Pro League are currently the top 2 regions of the world, but that's just me.
Why
So
you're a play-by-play.
so I want to make sure that you agree that it's the LPL and LCK. So if we're saying that a lot of the diversity and quite a few champion picks are being made popular here in the LPL, we still see a lot of it cropping out of the LCK. They're still leading the pack when it comes to high-level League of Legends. We saw moving into MSI, the double tier build came out of the LCK. We saw the experimentation with a lot of the Varus builds as well.
Actually attribute that to Abel.
Ooh.
Yeah. So it did come out the LCK first, but
Abel again.
Abel actually invented everything.
It's all the RNG substitute AD carries. Why for Abel? Just like here's everything. Abel also brought in the first non-range AD carry into the bottom lane.
Yes,
I think it was
he
the
did
Master
take out the Yasuo.
Picked up Yasuo. Goodness, this kid just seems to invent
pretty
everything.
crazy, but I totally understand it. If you have Uzi in front of you, like how are you going to outshine Uzi? You're not going to do it on the standard AD carry, so you have to come up with something new.
You've got to find some special player tactic. It seems like he's been able to do that for for majority of summer split, performing well. We see the rest of the LPL adapting too. What do you think is the biggest thing that the LPL would have to take away from the LCK right now? If LPL wanted to be the world champions, what do they have to learn from the LCK? What is going on?
They're just showing a ton of JD gaming videos. They had Dumal explain why he was the best player in the world, and now they're trying to. It's a game show, basically.
They're trying to pop each other's balloons and are attached to their ankles and failing miserably. But what do you think?
Mid-game macro.
Mid-game macro.
No question about that. Currently, our top teams, none of our top teams are actually incredibly good at mid-game macro. You look at EDG, we talked about their 20 to 25 minute split, where they were actually the last team in the league in terms of gold acceleration during that 5-minute stretch. RNG having the same problems again. They're actually ranked past the 10th place mark in terms of game time, so they have a lot of problems actually closing out cleanly. JD Gaming kind of the same issue, and Invictus Gaming has never really been known for their team fight as well. So that would be the area that I'm most worried about.
Mid-game macro. Is there anything else that we look towards? Because LCK have dominated the professional scene for so long. I mean, we've had a couple of MSI victories for the LPL. We saw TPA take Season 2 as well, back when they were in the GPL. Now it's been complete domination from the LCK, leading up to the last MSI, where we saw RNG pick up the trophy. But with RNG's recent performance, that could change, especially going to the World Championship.
Yeah, definitely. Everyone is looking for RNG to be the big ones that step up this split and carry the mantle forward, but domestically...
not looking too good.
Yeah, a lot of our hopes are leaning more towards Invictus Gaming.
Hey,
since
to be fair though, if they're domestically not looking too good, it's the LPL curse, right? Domestically you're bad, international you're great, international you're bad, domestic you're fantastic.
Yes, that's the curse of EDG and RNG, which they've had to endure.
But you were saying we're looking towards IG as well, so a few other teams to maybe leapfrog and take that spot.
I think the big strength about LPL has always been in the fighting and the willingness in the laning phase to go all in. That's not something we really see with the LCK teams. Currently, if they have a play, it usually involves the jungler. The jungler is there, and what the LPL does really well is that, first of all, they roam, giving up a lot of CS just to be in places. JD Gaming is the perfect example of that. And second of all, we just go in a lot of times when the jungler is even around the scenario, situation.
That's true. We saw that a lot in the last match as well. We're going into game 2 between JD and Vici shortly. We've had a lot of time to talk on this desk, so we'll recap the points we wanted to talk about when we get into Champion Select. But before then, I wanted to ask you, what do you think are RNG's problems? Because I know a lot of viewers who are not regular viewers of the LPL tuning in today will be concerned, if not curious, as to why RNG are not the most dominant team in the LPL and what has happened to them recently. Because, for context, they played against Vici last week on Friday, and it went to 3 games, and 2 of those matches were 60-minute slugfests where Vici should have taken both those games. It should have been Vici's win. They had the opportunity to do so, but they dropped it at the last minute.
The thing about RNG is that currently their early games are a bit of a coin flip. We've seen in their series against BLG as well, where they got basically, they had a 0-4 trade against Mole and Chieftain very early on in the game. And I think some of the tendencies that made RNG very powerful, their willingness to do bot lane dives, their early skirmishing potential, is somewhat backfiring on them right now. They don't look as sharp. They're picking a lot slower picks for Uzi, in terms of the general meta comparison. Like, there's a lot of viruses being thrown around, but Uzi a lot of times is still going on things that are slower on Kai'Sa. But regardless, RNG are still looking for the all-in early game fights, and that's blowing up in their faces.
Do you think Uzi's still the best AD carry in the world right now?
Right now? Damn, that's a tough question.
Because
not pre-20. Not pre-20. Okay, definitely not.
So post-20 you think he's still
post-20 team fights, I still think he's very good, but we have seen quite significant slip-ups.
We saw his blunder against Vici, where his position in the final team fight in one of their matches cost him a game.
And that's not the only case of that to happen recently as well. So I don't think Uzi is as good as we saw at the end of Spring Split necessarily.
Because he was the best player in the world at that point in time.
Yeah.
At that point in time, you would compare him to the rest of the players from the LCK, LPL, and around the world and say, you can't. It's just almost impossible to match him.
Definitely would be the case, but right now I feel like he's kind of gutting himself with some of the picks and some of the team fighting decisions early on.
He did take a long break. He has a reoccurring shoulder injury which he had to nurse for a majority of the summer split of the LPL, and that's when we saw a lot of the heavy meta changes. Good to see him back. We hope that he's recovered well. We hope that RNG pick up with their performance moving deep into playoffs. They have one final match, and it's against one of the teams on your screen of JDG in the final game of the LPL. It could decide who places second in that conference and gets a much-needed bye, as well as what we see to be the weaker side of the bracket to get a nice run towards finals. But going back into this match, JD taking on Vici. We're in game 2 of this best-of-3 series. The bans have already come through. Ryze, Darius, and Braum. Nothing's changed from JD. Only one change from the side of Vici, as Kindred and Aatrox still get banned out, but Varus will hit the bench as well.
Alright, so Vici are going for the same draft plan of telling Martin to stay very safe in lane and allowing Caveman to roam around the map. Now, Caveman is one of our premier Pyke players, is one of our premier Alistar players. He is a roaming type of guy, so I understand this setup, but I do want to see Vici try to stabilize the rest of the map. In game 1, they needed jungle pressure in all 3 lanes to actually come out ahead. That was not a winning strategy. It puts so much pressure on their rookie. I want to see them go for something a little bit more stable in the top lane and just focus on mid-bot.
So far we haven't seen anything for the top side of the map to see if that's going to be stable. They're picking the exact same picks for bottom lane. Ezreal and Rakan have been locked in for Vici. JD are going to respond, or they picked up Tampkench first and then responded with Jhin, but still going for Trundle as their jungle pick of choice. Again, Zoe's been left open, Ryze has been banned out, Coco has only really shown those 2 champions. Talia does get locked in, still a flex pick. That could be in the mid lane or in the jungle for Vici.
Does look like it should go to the jungle against the Trundle. You have a lot of opportunities to actually run away from that matchup. So a strong influencer in towards the bot side as well. I do like what Vici are drafting. They have a very strong roaming presence on the map. And for JD, I'm just excited about Loken's Jhin. He's not really known as a Jhin player, but Jhin has been buffed by the items this patch. His first early item spike of the Storm Razors went down by 400 gold.
Right.
And he does like to snowball with armor penetration, so that's a huge boon to his early game.
I feel like he's one of the more powerful AD carries at the moment that's been overlooked slightly. We see him play quite frequently. He's not a fringe pick by any means, but I feel like he's much higher up in the rankings or the tier list for AD carries at the moment. Martin going for 2 games of Ezreal as the first pick from Vici. Seems to be a comfort pick for him then.
It's taking away the Jason Camille now. Those are very strong dueling champions coming out from Audi, but not exactly what I would expect Vici to try and pick up.
Maybe a response to the Swain Gangplank bans. I mean, doubled ban towards Zoom on the top side of the map.
Just making sure nobody has any champions to play. Of course, we still have the meta champions of Cho'Gath. Pretty much the premier blind pick at this point. And you can run it into anything. We saw Let Me even get a solo kill on the Shy with that matchup.
Oh boy. But they showed they're going to play Gnar in the top lane, so they know that Audi's playing Gnar. Gives JD the opportunity to pick up Ornn as their top lane tank of choice for Zoom.
Do like this this pick very well. Does help you accelerate the early game pace with the initiations. And you just get a big tank for yourself to set up on the Jhin.
And when you change up your bans, you have to leave something open from the first match. LeBlanc was that champion.
No,
Zoe was
Coco.
left up. Means Coco has to pick a champion of choice. Both of them flashing the Karthus.
All right, Coco has to pick something new here. There's no way he goes on the Zoe, because Zoe is considered a very weak pick against the LeBlanc.
It's going to be Zoe, isn't it?
He's thinking about it. What will be the escape from the champion coin for Coco? That's a decent pick.
Zoe's left up though, Clement. I'm sorry.
It's still going to be Zoe.
Welcome to the LPL where the hover picks don't matter, but the common picks do.
I just wanted to see one more pick from Coco. He's played 10, I believe almost 10 straight games on Zoe and Ryze. That's it. And that's not even a good champion matchup.
Almost taunting Coco in this situation, locking in LeBlanc as the final pick for JD, and then saying, sure, why don't you just play Zoe? It's okay. Go for it.
That's a great ban pick by Home. You can see him laughing in game 1, and he definitely went in on the execution in game 2, basically calling out Coco.
Fantastic ban pick coming out from Home. JD with very similar tools for their composition. Should be looking to do the exact same thing. Do you like the changes that Vici have made? Is this enough for you?
Not really, because they don't have a lot of good roaming potential. They do have the Rakan to go into Zoe, but it's not a winning lane in itself, and it's going to be very difficult to correctly snowball.
Okay.
Yeah, I just feel like overall, Vici's held on to pretty much the same strengths. They have the pushing bottom lane coming out from Tahm Kench and the Jhin. They have the winning mid lane. The only point I would say they were weaker would be the Trundle versus Taliyah matchup. Taliyah has a much easier time evading the Trundle. Trundle doesn't really have a lot of those gap closers, and he pretty much runs in a straight line. So Taliyah can't disengage from that matchup.
Just same problems?
Yeah, pretty much same problems. They don't have a really good early game win strategy for Vici. Vici pretty much looks like a poke composition. And if that LeBlanc is taking, for instance, teleport, you actually can't even split push with the Gnar. You don't even have a late game insurance in the Gnar versus Ornn matchup.
You think LeBlanc can actually just take it too? Gnar is fairly strong split pushing, especially with the new aggressive item builds.
The problem about taking a Gnar is that you want him to be a side lane split pusher, play the 4-1, but JD can just counter that with a double teleport. That shuts down the strategy completely.
Okay, good drafting coming out from JD. Let's see if the changes Vici have made are going to be enough. We don't think so far on the desk. Vici have a chance to prove us wrong. A big thumbs up as we get onto the Rift for game 2 of this best of 3. He never leaves, Clement.
Never does. You can tell the volume.
Hey. OMG's not here. Stop it.
You can tell how loud the volume was just by listening to the audio blowout on those mics that we have attached to the seats down there.
Are they attached to the seats?
I'm not sure, but they should be around the pathways. Remember, this is a 500-man stadium.
Yeah, whoever's put the crowd microphones right next to the manager of JD is fired. You need to put that, you know, there should be a warning sign that he walks around over his neck that says, no microphones within 10 feet of me before a match. Too loud.
We can see Yagao asserting his dominance level 1. Already taking Coco to half with the early electrocute exchange.
Electrocute getting nerfed in a couple of patches as well. Very strong right now. Fleet footwork has been picked up by Loken though, not going for the Hail of Blades. That's more common on Jhin.
Yeah. So it's actually favored the mobility over the extra AD that you do get from Hail of Blades. It's probably just to avoid lane poke.
I don't recall any buffs to Fleet Footwork in 8.15.
No buffs.
So this is considered one of the weaker pickups for AD carries when it comes to the precision tree. We see Press the attack being picked up a little bit more. Hail of Blades being picked up even Comet being picked up from the Sorcery as well as Domination trees. Fleet Footwork used to be the pick on an AD carry. If you're not Kaiser, you're going for Fleet Footwork.
Pretty much. It has been significantly nerfed, especially against minions. But in this lane, I feel like he's just taking it for the extra sustain and just to try and push Ezreal in as much as possible.
True. Mobility is never bad for Jhin as well. He's a fairly immobile champion when it comes to gap closers. He does have a lot of movement speed from his 4th shot, as well as the extra speed he gets from crits. But should help out. Checking towards top side of the map. Airy is the pickup for Ornn in the top lane.
We do see this same rune being picked from Let Me as well. Does give you a lot more kill pressure onto the Gnar.
Caveman actually getting locked down there, but Lumao decides he's not going to follow through. No grey health for Tahm Kench, going for Tongue Lash and Devour very early.
Yeah, and these trades do hurt a lot more in terms of the early game. Remember, the support items have been increased in price by 50, which means you can only start the game with 2 health pots now, effectively decreasing the support health by 150. So it's these trades early on do matter a lot more in lane, and they do facilitate a lot more of kills. In terms of the topside matchup, I do expect picks like Gangplank and Gnar to drop off a little bit in 8.15. A lot of the times these picks lack the early game wave clear, and they do get tower dove quite easily. So without stopwatch, it could set up the ganks into the top lane a lot easier.
Yeah, before 10 minutes especially. No stopwatches being picked up in this match. We saw Zoom pick up 1 in the last game.
We do talk a lot about stopwatch because it's one of the most prevalent runes in 8.14 for the LPL. Basically, everyone was taking it. With the nerf and a lot of people just not going for it anymore, it does change up how laning phase is considered.
Caveman getting it up for Lumao, follows through with the flash. Caveman in trouble, gets taken down. First blood going over towards Logan. Grey health, gonna keep Tahm Kench alive. Martin looking for the snipe. Has to be careful, Klid's close by, actually spots him out through a wall, but jump goes through, locked down! What are you doing, Martin? Force the flash over, gets back to safety, but he knew that Klid was there, and still played the dangerous game.
Yeah, it was unexplainable by Martin. I do detect a little bit of tilt, or maybe thinking that Yodan could come in and try to bait Klid to overextend and get the flip. Didn't happen there. Klid did exchange the flash for flash, but that should be considered beneficial in JD's favor.
It's also led to JD picking up a nice, just close to 1,000 gold lead. Only 5.5 minutes into the match. That's painful.
Yeah, and to see Vici play this bottom lane this way is a little bit disheartening. I feel like if you could go for late game options. Oh, very good stop of the jump coming in from Gnar, and that's the all-in we're talking about.
Zoom looking for the fight. Audi! Clapped in the top lane. Zoom shows that once again in the one-on-one. This time no advantage whatsoever. He comes out on top.
And that's why you take Ahri on Ornn, like Airy on Ornn.
Take Ahri on Ornn. Hello. Rework the champion into a keystone.
The thing about Ornn is he has such a high kill potential. On level 6.
High.
Yeah, the entire rotation is something like 600 HP. So if you can just chip away Gnar a little bit with the Airy, your all-in potential is incredibly high. And what Zoom did especially well is that he was able to use his passive and knock Audi out of mid-air with the knock-up stun.
Well played by Zoom at the top side of the map. He picked up MVP in Game 1 and seems to be trying to carry through with a performance in Game 2. Just a reminder, the points are very crucial for JD. They want to pick up as many 2-0s as possible moving into their final match against RNG. For context, they've got 3 games before that. If they win all 3 games, it doesn't matter if they drop maps here and there. But one of those matches is against Invictus Gaming. Now, if they so much as pick up a win in one of the maps against IG and 2-0 Vici as well as LGD, which is not a tough ask, it is possible for JD to do so, they will qualify for 2nd place no matter what. If they 2-0 Vici and LGD, drop 2-0 to IG, RNG then have to 2-0 them in order to pick up that second place spot. Vici still in some trouble bottom side of the map. Clid does have a pillar, but Martin and Caveman get back to safety relatively easily. The only problem I can see with their schedule at the moment, Clement, is what if Vici or LGD take a game off JD? Then what are we looking at?
If that does happen, you could always ask JD to simply beat RNG.
Beat RNG?
Yeah. And that sounds like a tough task to most teams, but the reality is that JD Gaming has had RNG's number throughout the entire year.
True.
3 series wins over them, and their early game grouping just seems to take RNG off guard, because RNG thinks in very much the same way, but JD just strike faster.
They're a very fast early game team. If there's any team that can learn from what we were talking about during the pre-game from the LCK squads, about mid-game control and mid-game play, it's going to be JD. You think if they had that mid-game control and play, that's it. Best team. No problems.
I'm a little bit hesitant to call that. I'll be honest, I feel like JD's game style works because they are in the LPL. And what we see a lot of times is if they walk into inferior setups and they give up too much farm, they could even collapse starting from the early game. So LPL is known as a region where everyone rotates. There is no question whatsoever that you will expend your teleports and join a bot lane fight. And whoever comes out of that bot lane fight typically goes so far ahead because they also get, because they then are also able to clean up the entire map, and there's no side lane push happening in one of those side lanes. So it's very different from something like EU, where a lot of top laners or mid laners would actually decide not to teleport, and they would get the push and then get a CS advantage. In the LPL, you teleport regardless and see who comes out of the fight.
Just teleport, you know? Do it.
You want to get into fights as soon as possible, and the point that really illustrates this, I believe, was the RNG games versus the Samsung games at Worlds. A lot of times you could see that Ambition had the better vision control, but MLXG still got the early kills, standing on wards a lot of times. And it just showcased how the LPL is able to get advantages by just reaction speed. Striking first, going all in extremely hard, and it just took a lot of LCK teams off guard at that tournament.
Took them some time though. I know the start of the tournament for them was very slow.
Yeah.
I mean, every international tournament the LPL has gone to this year with Rivals, MSI, the start was very, very slow. It's only towards the end where, you know, it feels like they almost downloaded the teams a little bit more, understood their play styles, their tendencies, and their reaction. Worked out well for them. I like to attribute that to their support staff, mentoring and coaching, helping out with those positions, but let's first take a look at small skirmishes here. Clid taking a lot of damage. Ultimate's going to come out. You're taking so much damage, and Zoom gets him with the on-horn. Now looking towards K-Ben. You just flashed in a straight line, buddy. That's not how flash works. K-Ben in trouble. Final auto attack is going to take him down. JD with 2 more kills and a bottom lane skirmish.
Yeah, and Vici actually had vision superiority over that situation. They knew where Trundle was.
He dead, Clement. It's okay. Continue. You dead.
This is a little bit disappointing from Vici because they were the ones that initiated that fight in essence. They were going for the pincer. You could see Yodan was hiding in the red side brush. They already saw the Trundle. They thought that they could pin him down. But unfortunately, Coco misses his skill shots to go in. And then JD's bot lane is able to affect the battlefield earlier simply because he's a Jhin. He was able to cut off that choke, prevent Martin and Caveman from walking into the red side jungle, and he was able to deal damage through the ultimate. So you can see that this play was originally set up by Vici. They were hiding there trying to pincer Clid. Coco missed his first rotation, and then JD responded. Look at what Martin is doing in this fight. He's got 1 Mystic shot off, while the entire ultimate was expended by Loken. So just bad calculations and not enough execution to match for Vici.
During that play, there was a gank towards the top side of the map. Zoom forced to use his flash, but Martin in trouble. Bottom lane exhausted. Heal being used by Lumao to try and catch up, and he's dead. Loken gets that final shot. Grey health keeps Lumao alive. So JD react to the play and push out mid lane and bottom lane.
This is gank over gank happening for JD Gaming onto the bot lane. Martin dying twice in a single minute. not having a great game, and I believe this patch will reward bot lane snowballing much heavier. We talked about the gold value not changing for marksman items, but your gold spike, your items power spikes do move forward quite often. So what we're supposed to see in this meta is you could take over the entire game once you take down those 2 rings of towers. You could be sitting at 3 items at that point.
I mean, just taking a look at the items now, and I noticed this after the big fight we saw bottom. Loken already has his Storm Racer. Oh my god. Martin, stop. What are you doing? That was not worth it. Oh, maybe worth it. Sorry.
He's trying to bait.
Sports want to fight as well. Talia's close by, so it's not going to happen. But Storm Racer already complete for Loken. Side of Martin, it's still the Tier and Sheen. Not a bad spike for Ezreal, but it's not a Storm Racer.
To be honest, I don't really think Ezreal is going to be a massive pick in 8.15. None of the items that he likes to build in terms of the Triforce, the Mana Mune, have received any substantial buffs in 8.15, while the crit items are much stronger. So if there's an Ezreal, I think you could see a lot more Tristanas pop up as well.
And I mean, Storm Racer is such a good pick for Jhin as well, right? His 4th shot is a guaranteed crit. Now his 1st shot is a guaranteed crit as well. That's quite scary.
It is. And they did patch out his 4th shot to be an enhanced auto attack, so it does regular damage.
Not a crit. Oh, Clint though gets crit by Vici. They find a pick for themselves. It took some time to focus on this bottom lane. They finally get it.
A lot of damage dealt right there just with the 3-man combo. I believe there was a knock-up coming in from Caveman.
They do get out of there. They're now Yagao looking to try and lock down Konko. What a play! What? Cross the map for JD, delivering the top lane, so bottom lane up there.
And they actually get the mid lane trade. They might even take this tower down faster. They already have their first brick, of course, but a temple lead is a temple lead. That was such good execution. Like, there was no way that Coco could have seen that coming. He definitely thought the bot lane duo was still stuck behind tower. Beautiful
coming out from JD with that play towards the mid lane. Still 2,000 gold ahead, 7-1 in kills, and dominant once more. The second match out. Best 3. Very nice night.
Yeah, the captive audience coming out of... He just saw them in the bot lane 1.5 seconds ago. That's how long it takes the Abyssal Voyage to land. Oh, wow. That playmaking ability is terrifying coming out from JD Gaming.
Loken and Luma, we have to keep track of these two. Shaping up to be a good duo in the LPL. We have so many of these very strong duos. Uzi and Ming. SMLZ, Kalua.
What I like about Loken and Luma is that they're one of our lane kill combinations. Like, they definitely look for the 2v2 kills a lot. I would say there would be like 3 duos that work that way. I think EDG, Mako, and Ivor are very high on that list. I think from LWX and Crisp, they're also very good. Suning's also very good.
Bottom lane there, LWX and Crisp.
Yeah.
Hang on though, we'll talk about bottom lane in a bit because Clid been stuck up by this Talia wall and a big teleport coming out from Vici. Clid gets all his health back from his passive. Teleport comes through, Audi is in Mega, but it's wearing off very quickly. He's not going to find a play on that.
Oh, he just picked it up.
Picks up the pick. We'll be able to pick up Rift Tail. Just simply runs away. Distortion not going to come back up just yet, but flashes away from Caveman. Now JD are the ones that are going to try and turn this one out. Oh, tags 3 people. Double knock up, make it 3. Jumping back in towards the fight. Yagao going to try and jump back in. Ultimate coming out for Jhin. 4 shot gets it. Kills 1. Caveman's going to fall. Vici thought they had the flank, but who's hunting who? Kuko even forced to flash away from that one. They get the Rift Tail. They get the team fight. Beautiful from JD.
Yagao gets the objective and gets the bait as well. Makes Vici walk into a funnel where Zoom could easily land a 3-man knockup, and they take down all of the pegs from Vici. Just great individual play.
3,000 gold of a lead 2 off the back of that. Moving towards the top lane. Top lane out of turret's going to be taken down nice and easy.
Yikes, and that's a 3-0-2 LeBlanc. That's going to be hiding in Vici's jungle.
Oh, he taunted it. Hate to say it, but this is it's your fault, Vici.
Yeah.
Respect the LeBlanc.
The Yagao outsmart and outplay. Now he's going in 1v3. Oh.
Welcome to the LPL. Brush your teeth next time.
The funny thing about Riv calling Yagao Yago is that, well, we'll talk about that.
Yeah, well, watch the replay. Yagao, 600 IQ, jawline of the gods.
Distort.
Ripped AF.
Into R, double gap closer, and then the flash to get away.
He's
and
so
look
brave,
at the position from Vici.
He's so brave.
Incredibly good play, and they just set up a beautiful kill zone for Loken to execute on. Vici's just getting outsmarted.
10-1. You were talking about Riv. He called Yagao Yako.
Yep. And Yago is actually, what it means is tooth plaque, so it's exactly the opposite of
Really?
what... Yeah.
Oh my goodness, how could he get it so wrong but so right at the same time?
I don't blame him, but it's the exact opposite of what his name actually means.
Clid almost caught out again, that's the only... Oh, where'd you come from? It's the Tooth Fairy! He's found him once again!
That's a Tooth Fairy that knocks out all your teeth. And she gives you nothing in return, by the way.
Not
That's
even $10 under your pillow?
No, not 10. It takes 300 from you, though.
Just rip bank account. Whew.
Definitely a tough watch, tough game to watch for Vici fans.
Not looking good at all. It's now a 6,000 gold lead that separates the two, and inner turrets are falling one by one. JD in a strong lead here against Vici.
I really want to see when Loken is going to be able to complete his 3-item spike. That would be a good information to have about what a snowball bot lane would look like in 8.15.
He's close. BF Sword picked up Null Magic Mantle, so that could be a QSS in the making, it seems. He was that quick play again. Coco gets locked down. Loken getting him through the portal jump. It's an easy kill.
You can't do that in front of a Jhin. I have to say, Coco was disrespectful. It was a very easy shot for Loken to land up.
Very nice. Enjoyed it. You know what, one thing I don't like about the servers, Clement?
What about them?
You can't have a space bar in your name here.
That is true.
You can't. So, I mean, it makes sense, right? There is no space bar in Chinese characters. Every character has their own little text box, so they're spaced out nicely, unlike words in the using the English language. Hang on, Ali's getting caught out here. On ultimate thrown out. You just that's inhumane. We don't talk about that. But yeah, back to space
how
bars.
those things lined up. Did you see they lined up in a perfect cross, and both of the skill shots were able to land?
Oh boy.
Like that's a play Jhin would be proud to do.
Now the Junkyard Trundle's found his way into the back lines. Yeldang tries to save his team, not going to happen. Caveman's forced to jump over as well. Yagal's going to go with him and look for some damage. Half his health. Crit shot! Oh. Double kill picked up by Loken.
558 damage on the final shot. He's got the execute as well. This is looking so easy for JD Gaming.
This is nasty.
It definitely is. This is what JD Gaming is expected to do against lower tier teams in the LPL now. Like this split, I was talking to Amazing Jay for face to face, and he had such high praises for JD Gaming.
Of course, I think we all do.
Yeah.
You were the one who was on the desk with me, Clement, when they had only dropped one game, and went on record saying they're the best team in the LPL. They followed that statement by losing the game.
That always happens when I'm on the desk, whenever I'm trying to promote one of these teams.
It's the commentator's curse, don't worry. It happens to everyone. Just like when NA say that, you know, they're the best region in the world.
When did they say that?
Exactly.
Uh-oh.
They've been caught out here. That's, man, it's not okay.
Even though this looks like just like a very unusual stomp, I would say we're going to see a lot more of this in 8.15. Like
really?
A lot of people with Storm Razors running around with 400 less gold is quite terrifying. The snowball potential for the bot lane, I think, has been massively increased in terms of this batch.
There's your item spike. 3 items for Loken. Infinity Edge
22
complete.
minutes.
60% crit with the first shot always critting.
So I was thinking about maybe 25, because usually when you complete 3 items, it would be 28 minutes around that time frame in terms of 8.14. But This is a lot faster than even I expected. Of course, a very snowballed game.
Martin. They're going for a fight here. Yodang separates them, but puts them back to safety. Will flick back Lumao. Caveman looking for the fight. Gets the double jump. So they're in some trouble. Two of the bottom laners from the side of JD take it down. Audi even teleporting in. They're pinging Baron. That's Desperate Baron coming out, Clement. Desperate Baron never fails. Let's see if it works out.
All right, the question for me is how many people can Yagao actually snipe out?
Here we come.
Very fed at this point.
Double distortion could be the case. 23 minutes in, and Vici trying to go for a desperate Baron play.
Here comes
Loken and Lumao are down. Zoom's going to try and jump in. Yagao kills one. That's going to be the support from the side of Vici. Take it down. Zoom can take up a lot of damage. Yagao wants to try and jump in. Not going to have enough to survive this. Audi tries to crunch back out. Yagao standing on the back lines here. Undetected for now.
It's still very difficult for Vici to actually commit on this Baron, and they are going away.
Oh no, Yagao distorts back in towards the sleepy trouble bubble, but he's okay. Vici don't want to push any further forward. That was 2 on 5, and they trade 1 for 1.
It was bound to happen with Yagao and this composition from Vici. They just don't have the health bars. And here comes Loken.
No, tags him with the first and the third. The fourth kills him. Loken gets it with the curtain call.
Did you see how much damage that did?
It's disgusting, Clement.
That was 1100 damage for the final shot.
Make it stop.
I'm
going to have nightmares. No one told me this was an R-rated broadcast.
This is the problem with the LPL mid laners, is that we are a very counter-focused league. If you don't have the champion pool and you can counter-pick yourself in the mid lane with the last pick, this is what you expect to happen. Like, we have the lowest win rates for Zoe blue side first pick of any major region, and LeBlanc is the reason.
Oh no! That was scary. And LeBlanc jumps in once more. On throws out the ultimate.
Good night, Caveman.
Have a good sleep. Audi's going to flash forward, try to lock down Yagao. Gets the clone. Crunch that distorts back. Does the do-si-do. Gets out of there. Escapes from the final shot from Martin as well. Audi pays for it with his life. Still 5 of us strong. JD pushed forward. Baron buff still there to be taken. Big outplays and 2 picks for the side of JD.
This has to be one of the prettiest stomps that we've seen. Like, Yagao is just outplaying at every corner, showcasing his mechanics. He would have died if Audi landed the Q or the R. Sorry, the W, but is able to dodge out on all of those skill shots his way and find the kill anyway. The first kill combination coming out from Zoom and Yagao, the chemistry between the Dumpling brothers, that was so good to watch.
Bob Ross would be proud at this point.
It's like painting with the blood of your enemies.
A
great canvas.
Happy little trees, Clement. No,
okay. Sorry.
No, happy little trees.
We're going to see the final point of that fight where Loken does snipe out Yodan. This is the second shot, but it doesn't matter. The last shot. 1115 damage.
135 with that being true damage thanks to Infinity Edge.
Good luck surviving that. And the question of what Vici does for a late game composition still lingers on.
This is not the answer, Clement.
Yeah, this really isn't.
It's fallen down to the situation where they're not doing damage because they're not ahead. They're not tanky enough to survive the damage that JD have. They have the initiation, I'll give them that, so they can find picks once again. That's all. That's about all they can really look for, it seems. 1-3-1, gonna be out of the question now. LeBlanc's too far ahead and not a tanky Nah, so easy to kill. Yodang thought he had the flank, but cleared out the superior flank. He had the high ground, Clement. JD get the first pick of the fight, killing out the jungler. Zoom's gonna charge forward. 1 shot, 2 shot, 3 shot, and 4! Gets Audi with it. Doesn't kill him as he turns Mega. Martin gets the first kill back on towards Yagao. Lumao trying to chase forward. Captivaudius connect. Vici trying to turn around this fight. JD might have bit off a little bit more than they could chew here. Coco chasing forward. Paddlestar connecting with the tanks though. Doesn't deal the damage he would want. Vici to repel the fight by JD. Caveman even trying to force a fight.
Fight it.
Gaps him with the Captivaudius, but doesn't keep them locked down long enough.
And Vici were extremely fortunate in that fight. Audi able to transform on his Gnar, get the ultimate, and knock everyone back. That should have been a clean follow-up from JD Gaming, but Audi comes in with the nick of time, gets the extra HP and resistances on the Gnar, and pushes away the threats from JD Gaming. Oh, doesn't find the target. Unfortunate.
Yeah, that's Gal's body. We know, he dead. He did. Good shutdown gold coming out from Vici. Still about 10,000 gold behind. They just pulled back 2,000 gold of that deficit 4 more times.
Yep, they could do it. It was a little bit of a questionable play on Rumao's part. So he took LeBlanc in to the back line. Caveman, you need to get out of there. If those chains landed, it was not going to be a good situation.
He did take LeBlanc into the back line, so I think Yagal wanted to be there.
Did you just see the pings on Yagal's grave? I think that tells you the story and what JD thinks went wrong in that fight.
I believe that's 90% crit being picked up by Loken as well. That's scary. Oh, big flank though. Yudong finds the flank. Flick connects as well. Loken forces a flash over the wall. Lumao trying to save him. Caveman chasing through. They spit back out Loken. Safe for now, should have enough hit points to survive any shots thrown his way.
Double flash was blown from JD Gaming, so Vici are looking to repeat that that play they just did there. Very good on Yodan to hide in one of the areas that JD did not expect. He came from the right flank and basically cut off the Raptor ramp.
Vici have also bought enough time. That's enough time for their inhibitor to spawn. I like the new graphics we have, Clement. Just underneath Vici's name, all 3 of the inhibitors are there.
Yeah, we have to innovate along with the LCK.
I mean, I preferred the, you know how we had the bars at the bottom right-hand corner just above the minimap? I thought that was a bit nicer. You just can't fit 2 teams there. I believe we saw that struggle.
I actually prefer this a little bit more.
Really?
Yeah.
It just looks like we got some fancy plates underneath the names.
I think the problem was when it was on the left side, especially for the blue team, it looked a little bit cluttered with all the status bars as well.
True.
So I think this solution is a little bit cleaner.
It's the best solution. I'm just being picky. I don't like change. Too old for change. Clearly has a nice flank once again. Throws down the pillar, locks them down. Yodang being caught out. Clearly takes quite a bit of damage, and Zoom starts with the ultimate. Gotacor comes through, as well as Yagal jumping in with damage. No one for Vici dies from the initial barrage, but we're going to be a burst out coming out for LeBlanc. Audi jumps in a little bit too late. Yagal with the pick after pick. 2 members of Vici fall once again.
I wonder why Audi decided to jump in at that point. None of his team actually followed, and maybe Lumal carried him there, but it's
frustration,
like a weird start.
I would be frustrated if I was in this match. It's not looking good. JD even moved towards Baron.
Yeah, there's just been no answer coming out from Vici's, from JD's early game play, and you do have to question a lot of the ban pick strategy coming out from Vici.
Yagal looking for a 1-on-2 at the moment. Coco forced out of this fight. Top lane inhibitor turret's going to fall. Yagal gets that one. Double teleport coming in for JD to continue with this push. Perhaps to finish if they want to.
This is a hilarious.
Ooh, they got him. Yagal
This
gonna flash.
greedy.
He's gonna try and dash away. Caveman looking for the initiation, just running at them, gets the charm, double charm with that. Caveman in trouble. Loken gets that kill. The rest of Vici is here. Lumao cut off by the ultimate. Put on ultimate, gonna connect. 3 members force the flash away. Yagal jumping forward again. Double kill being picked up by Loken. Only 3 members of Vici left. Audi transforms, gets a stun into Zoom, but double knock-up coming out from Zoom. Crunch forward, Audi only throws back 1, they push forward. Zoom with that 3rd kill for JD, they lose Clit in the process, as the kill does get picked up by Yagal, and the ace and the thumbs up coming out from Loken.
And JD Gaming want to finish earlier rather than later. They could have went back with the empowered backing from the Baron buff and just came back 4 seconds later, but they didn't want to wait the 4.
They've got a delivery at 5 o'clock today, sorry, 7 o'clock today. They need to get there before that. They do so under 2 hours. They take down Vici.
And congratulations to JD Gaming, one of their most dominant performances in the entire split. They won the early game. They had the better matchups. I felt like they were strong in the drafting phase as well. And we are left with a bunch of questions facing Vici Gaming.
Yep. This question's still yet to be answered, Clement. It's another series where late game just looks like an impossible option almost for Vici.
Definitely does seem that way. The good thing about Vici now is with the extra addition of Yodong, they can scrim in-house now. They do have 2 players in every single position. We have seen multiple rosters thrown out by Vici, and hopefully they can look forward to a better 2019.
Well-deserved bow, and it's the first task of many to come for JD if they want to try and take it to second place. Vici weren't really fighting for much today. They've already been eliminated from playoff contention and have been for some time.
JD Gaming trying to get back a little bit of that pride that was lost in the spring split. They had a very strong start, but then when they went into playoffs, they collapsed against BLG in a straight 2-0.
Oh boy.
This split, they are miles ahead of Billy Gaming.
They're favorites for top 4 at least, it seems. One of the top dogs in the competition. Second place is what they're fighting for. A 2-0 helps them out. They now push to 15 map points. Remember, they have to beat RNG, who have 13. But 15's not enough. They have to hover around 16 to 18 to guarantee the opportunity.
Need to get plus 18 in their next 3 sets to guarantee their seeding over RNG.
No matter if they lose them or not.
Yes, exactly.
That's going to be... It's going to be difficult because they have to pick up a win against IG in one of the maps and 2-0 LGD later in the week to guarantee that.
They are on to a good start, and JD Gaming is just... I've always really liked watching this team. To me, they're the best team to watch in terms of viewing experience.
Okay.
They're very dynamic early game. They have small throws mid game, and then they have comebacks. So that's like all you could potentially want.
They've got the late game, right? So if it does go to late game, they can try and fight back. But
they're actually very good team fighters as well. Just like you could see that combination getting pulled off.
So
multiple, crisscross firing.
So this is what we were talking about. JD, to their first option of taking second place is to pick up 14 wins and 18 points. So now they're at 13 wins and 13 points.
They should have more points now. They should be at 15 currently.
15 points.
Because they just took Vici down.
They have to take on IG, LGD, and RNG. Second option, Clement, it's quite simple.
Yeah.
Beat RNG.
I think second option is what they're going for. But they could also just look to win. So what they need is just 4 wins, and they have room for 1 loss. And they would be officially over RNG. Which means that we would be looking at a very stacked playoff bracket. We said this again, but Invictus Gaming, EDG, and RNG would be on the same side of the bracket, and only one of those teams would be able to make finals.
That's quite scary.
It is incredibly scary, and I would love to see all of our Rift Rivals teams actually be able to make Worlds.
Fortunately, only 3 of them can.
And one of them will definitely miss it, because if RNG drops out early, then 2 of our Rift Rivals teams would have to duke it out in the qualifiers, and only 1 would survive.
That's right. So we have we can send 3 teams. The winner of this split will go to the World Championship. The second team will be based on championship points. Remember that RNG have the most, followed by EDG. Then we have Rogue Warriors, and then we have IG. Those are the 4 with the main points. Anyone a little bit lower doesn't really have the chance unless they place second, and none of these 4 teams place. None of these 4 teams make it towards top 4, which is quite difficult of a task. Then you have the gauntlet run, where unfortunately it seems like from that side of the bracket where we have so many top teams playing, that seems to be where they're going to try and make the impact to go to the World Championship, fight through play-ins the way that Team WE did last year, and potentially have a good run at Worlds.
Yeah, definitely. The LPL has one of the longest gauntlet runs. We have 5 teams slotted to duke it out for the final position, and they do have to make it through play-ins as well. Yes. So a very difficult task for that last seed. I'm not saying that RNG are definitely going to go there.
It's not impossible.
It's not impossible. EDG could go there as well. Invictus Gaming could end up there. And it's just one of those things that where you really hate to see, because there's so many good teams in the LPL, and you want to see them all go. But it currently does look like that only 2 of our 4 Rift Rival teams will likely make it to Worlds, and then that extra slot is what everyone else is going to be looking at. Like, who else is that going to be? Because that would have to come from the other side of the roster with TOP, TOP and Snake going through the other way. So
Well,
that's very interesting.
And JD are one of the teams that we're looking towards to try and make it a splash at the World Championships if they manage to qualify for it. That last match, we saw Loken pick up MVP as the AD carry for JD. Rightfully so.
38.4% of his team's damage, won the laning phase super hard, and that's the power of Jhin. We're going to be seeing a lot more of him with the recent cost reduction towards Storm Razors. He snowballs much faster, much earlier, and I do like the build for crit over the lethality build that we typically see.
I mean, it makes sense, right? It gives you the guaranteed crit on your first attack. You have your empowered order on the fourth attack. Once you hit a couple of items, you're going to be critting more often than not.
Because the thing about the crit build right now is it's actually cheaper than the lethality build, which doesn't really make sense, but is the case. So you don't even have that drop off in late game if you go for the crit build, and you also spike earlier, which is a little bit weird.
We'll be able to see more of JD as they move closer and closer to playoffs. They will fight all the way to their final match in the LPL itself to see if they will be able to take second. That was only the first match that we have today, because coming up, Invictus Gaming will travel to Hangzhou, where LGD are holding on for their dear lives. A single loss would eliminate them from playoff contention. We'll find out if they're able to take it to IG after this break.
这个夏天，IG 有太多东西需要证明，请大家拭目以待。